What's up, y'all? It's Popping Fragments. D. Boss here to this bed by O'Shea Duke Jackson is titled, Here's Proof That Myron Really Hates Fresh. From Fresh and Fit. They still having problems, still drama going on between the two of them. Let's see what's happening now. Let's watch.
What's going on, man? I wanted to ask Fresh a question.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Fresh, I wanted to know, right, as a man, how does it feel to know that the only reason you're successful is based on the talent of Myron?
Look at Myron's face.
Let's face it, the Fresh and Fit podcast is not what it used to be. Many of their fans have become enemies of the podcast, but still, they still have their faithful and loyal few. And those people are picking sides between Myron and Fresh. This happened the other day when a caller called in and had extreme smoke for Fresh.
Yeah, how does it feel to know that if it wasn't because you met Myron, you would still be working at Chick-fil-A or whatever it is?
Not Chick-fil-A.
What was my last job?
What'd he say?
What was my last job?
What was my last job?
Your last job? I don't know, man. I thought
It wasn't Chick-fil-A?
I don't know, something that wasn't as successful as Chick-fil-A. That's what it was.
Ooh.
How does it feel to know that if Myron was to like just not be cool with you no more or fell out with you or something like that, you would be done. Like you wouldn't be able to make money anymore, you wouldn't be able to sustain your lifestyle anymore because the money you make now is 100% based on the intelligence and the talent of Myron.
Are you glazing Myron at this point? Calm down.
It's not yours.
Before we go further, let's think about this pair, Fresh and Fit. Myron is supposed to be the business guy that runs the podcast with all of the intellectual prowess. Fresh is the guy with the quote-unquote connections that does things behind the scenes. And people believe that Fresh is just worthless on the podcast and he really doesn't have a space there. This was the point that Zerka made when him and Fresh fell out.
I'm not even going to say Fresh and Fit, because what the does Fresh really add to the show? Other than stuttering, stupid points, even the women don't respect him. And we're talking about the who look at him and don't respect him. You know what I'm saying? What the does he add to the show?
Damn,
And
so
if
this
you
is a
think
common
about
sentiment.
it, that might be true. But on the other hand, Fresh never kicks out women of the podcast. He never yells at them. That is always Myron doing that.
You fat.
And to be fair, Myron
Oh my God! Fat.
You fat.
And to be fair, Myron himself says, hey, listen, even though Fresh is dumb, he's kind of worth having around.
You guys could say all that you guys want to say about Fresh. Look, I get it. Stutters, he's black. But at the end of the day, bro,
What?
he's been an instrumental part
Why did he say that as if he's not black himself? This is true.
of keeping Fresh and Fit afloat, despite the cancelizations, demonetizations, etc. So he does a lot of things behind the scenes, man, to keep the show going.
Why didn't he
You know,
speak up for himself?
So,
That's fine,
we
man.
would have been canceled by now. If it wasn't for Fresh, man. We would have been going everywhere.
Fast forward. Let's return back to that caller. If you notice when the caller is addressing Fresh, Myron is not really saying anything. His facial expressions say a lot. And that, to me, means that Myron actually believes what the guy is talking about. Myron might actually believe that Fresh is actually dumb. And you know what? Fresh.
No, Myron seems like the type of person who would think that he's better than Fresh and think that he's more intelligent and he's carrying the show. He seems very full of himself. So, actually, I agree.
Believe that he himself is dumb. But let's continue on with this caller's situation.
It's kind of crazy to me that after everything Myron has done for you, he made you basically made you rich, and you still kind of snake him a little bit, like like that whole Zerka thing. The things you say on Twitter, like those little shady, anybody who's got half a brain can kind of see what you're getting at. And it's kind of like, this guy made you rich, and for you to still be so unappreciative. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, kudos to Myron for staying loyal to you and still with you, but yeah, that's crazy, bro.
So you think I stay Myron?
So the caller is saying, listen, Fresh, Myron is the one that has made you rich. And the way that you repay him is by going behind his back and attacking the people that he likes. And remember, Fresh CEO has fallen out with some of Myron's big-time good friends. He's done it with Sneeko, but the biggest one was Zerka.
So can't even try talking about. But you know what happened to Circa, bro? This man-child literally went on the path of no return. Ketamine, coke, young. When I say young, under 18.
Minor.
And it's like, yeah, A minor. And it's like, you know what? I feel bad for the guy, bro. You know what? I don't talk to him that often because I'm like, it's a lost cause, but I feel bad for the guy. This guy's like a fucking raging, like, idiot.
After that, Myron asked Fresh to squash the beef.
You know what? I'm gonna back down because Myron said back down. Myron just said chill. I'm gonna relax. But it was mad earlier. Bro.
Let's just handle some of this stuff behind the scenes, man. Like, look, bro. Like I said before, we already got everyone cutting after guys like me, you, Sneeko, Zerka, etc. Nick, you know what I mean? Calling us far right assholes and all this other bullshit. It's like the last thing we need is infighting, man.
Now, anybody who's heard Zerka admit that he likes underage women would understand why somebody like Fresh would be against it. I mean, anybody that is sane understands that associating with a guy like Zerka is stupid. And to be honest, it was Myron's investment money that bought a lot of the equipment for the Fresh and Fit podcast. But it was also Myron's big mouth that also stopped what was going on. You see, Myron had the money, but Fresh had the connections. Fresh knew people in the Miami area. He knew the models. He knew the people to contact. He knew how to actually make the podcast work. And I can tell you, you need people like Fresh in a business like that. For an example, you guys know I have another channel called The Pan-African Dating Show. And it's one thing to have the equipment and to have cameras and to have the machines that you can do editing with. But you need people who know how to bring the girls, how to bring the guys. You need people that have ideation. And you need people that can go ahead and do things to make the whole concept work. Having a dating show channel is the same almost as having a podcast channel. And these things are hard to build. So if you don't have somebody like Fresh, and remember that Myron was like, he moved to Miami. He didn't know anybody. If you don't have somebody like Fresh, you can't really do anything. So Fresh is just as important as Myron because he made the business come together. He made it work. Now, this whole separation, which is going to happen soon, in my honest opinion, if you can see Myron's body language, Myron believes that he's just too good for Fresh. I believe that he thinks that he is a political analyst. He has more to offer than what just the Fresh and Fit does, since he needs to grift and they can't really make money off that anymore. And Fresh is sort of holding him back. And this is why a lot of the people in Fresh and Fit are choosing sides right now between Myron and Fresh. And the reality is that if Fresh leaves the podcast, Myron is done forever. The reason is this: Myron's already a hothead, but Myron without Fresh would just be Myron talking about Israel all day, talking about the gay agenda all day, talking about all the other things that we don't know Myron for in the first place. He's not a political pundit that anybody respects. He's not a political analyst that anybody respects.
He's such a
He's
nerd.
not a world leader or thought leader or anything else that anybody respects. Myron's not that intelligent,
so lame.
no matter what he thinks. Without Fresh, bringing in those girls and those OnlyFans models and kicking the girls out of the house,
Yeah, she
there
like
is no
fat
real
wear.
reason for anybody to
called her
watch
fat.
Myron. This is why Myron tried to start a podcast with Nick Fuentes and Sneeko. And how did that work out? Yeah, it failed. And it failed miserably. It didn't even get started because nobody will be as dedicated to Myron as Fresh. Let me tell you guys something. I've been on my YouTube journey for almost 10 years. 7 of those years have been with Dima. We've had our ups and we've had our downs. But if
All right, I don't know. He's my brother. I agree with what he's saying, though. I do think Fresh plays an important role. He balances out the bullshit. Although he's ridiculous as well, don't get it twisted, he's not nearly as ridiculous as Myron. So I feel like he does make their show a bit more tolerable, for the average person. Unless you are just like Myron, then you want to, hear him spew all his bullshit. But yeah, that's an important role. And apparently he has, connections. I didn't know about that. And, Myron moved to Miami and Fresh was the one who set everything up and introduced him to all of these important people that played an important role to getting their podcast started. So I would argue that if it wasn't for Fresh, there would be no Fresh and Fit at all. So that's wild that, that person called in and said that. It was going in. But it's also interesting that Fresh didn't really seem to stand up for himself and, like, defend his position on the podcast and his importance. So, that's weird. Maybe he just can't articulate what he's trying to say. I don't know what's happening. But this does look like a mess, and I don't know how long their podcast will last, because I do feel like Myron has this self-importance, and he feels like he's better than Fresh, and he probably does feel like, I can do this on my own and just pocket 100% of the money. So I would not be surprised if he tries to go solo. But yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know what other videos you're going to watch, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!